Welcome back to the Roaring Peacock podcast. It's a Leeds United podcast. If you don't know us, that's what we do. We talk about Leeds and we talk about other things as well. It's been a little while, but we're back and we've got a lot to talk about. We won a game of football in the Premier League, which was nice. It's good feeling.
Yeah. Forgot what that felt like.
Right, against Watford. So we'll talk about that. Black History Month is October, the month of October. So we'll be talking about our favourite black Leeds players. You can talk about your favourite black people in general if you want. Newcastle Takeover and what that means for Leeds and the Premier League. Tyson Fury had a fight. Extremely into the weeds there, and we'll be playing Southampton very soon. Matt Letizia, the anti-vaxxers team. Okay, my name's Adonis. You know me as at the Adelites on Twitter. It's a very good hello from me. Joining us is the Warden of the North at LUFC Warden Sam Ward.
Evening, everybody.
The Prince of Darkness, Machiavelli himself in the flesh, Ewan Metcalf.
How are we doing, everybody?
And Barney from the internet.
Good evening.
At Barney LUFC 21.
It's the first time I've spoken to people in days, so it's quite nice, this.
Well, we'll start off with you then, Barney. You've got the Rona.
Mm-hmm.
How is it? How are you? Are you okay?
I'm okay. Just can't taste or smell anything. Got a bit of a cough as well. Last week, I felt a bit under the weather. Just thought it was a cold. Then by Friday, I thought I'm not quite right here. So I tested myself. Yeah, I got the Rona. I was meant to be going to Glasgow on Saturday for a gig. Can't go to that, so I'll be watching Strictly.
I would have thought now that you can't smell or taste anything, it would be the perfect time to go to Glasgow.
I said, judging by the state of Barney's ass, I think it's a good job. Anything we've just been discussing.
I was going to say, man, any more symptoms you want to tell us about?
in graphic detail.
Missed off one there.
No comment.
Waddy, you all right?
Yes, spot on, mate. Yeah, really good, thank you. Yeah,
You're working in the middle of nowhere, I hear.
Yeah, working in the middle of the moors, mate. Yeah, it's a good 45, 50 minutes, maybe a bit more actually. Up very hilly terrain. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot, but bites a fuck on to get there. But yeah, it's a beautiful job, like I said. Yeah, loving it.
Yeah. Do you practice your Kate Bush on your breaks?
I do all sorts, to be honest, on my break. But I bet
Wardy, you know, Wardy's one of them who I bet he rolls downhill. Even now. Break. Gets a proper roll on.
Some of them hills are absolutely insane, and I wouldn't even mess with them, to be honest. They're very, very high up. But no, all good for me, mate. Yeah, loving life. Yeah, playing football after this, so I'm on the tee, not the beers, like you two. Unfortunately, because after one, I get a bit carried away, to be honest. So I need a not really, otherwise I won't turn up. I will get pissed.
What position do you play?
Up front, mate. Yeah, bit of a Patrick Bamford sort of figure, assisting, scoring, closing down. Yeah, bit of everything, mate.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. So I taught myself up well, didn't I?
You got a celebration? Yeah, you have now. Fucking hell. You got a celebration?
No, not all. It's against quite a few old people and young people, so it's a good mix of people. So it's not serious, put it that way. But I enjoy it nonetheless, and it's good.
You don't rip your shirt off and swing around your head.
No.
We are the champions.
Because some of the people that play in goal, it's obviously rotation in goal. So one goal, every goal, someone changes goal. So some of the small people, you can score for miles away. So it's not even
get right up in the goalkeeper's face after you put one past him. Have some of that.
I should do that. It's fun.
Ewan, how are we?
Just thinking.
He's frozen.
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
No, you're back.
Just thinking, if Wardy says he's working in the middle of nowhere and lives in Beedale, it's remote. Jesus.
Good for burying some bodies if you ever need anything burying.
I'll bear that in mind, mate. It's
constantly.
Yeah, constantly a question I ask myself. Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. Really busy, and I like being busy, and busy with work and life, and it's great. Everything's good. I'm golden, lads.
Lovely. If you would like to get involved in the Roaring Peacock, we do need some co-hosts occasionally. These life gets in the way now. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that on the DMs on Twitter. Right, Watford 1-0. First thoughts.
I'll let you talk because I didn't actually watch it, so.
Yeah.
I know.
This is why we need co-hosts.
I know. Yeah, I'm committed to the cause. Fuck's sake.
Barnett?
We were really good. First 45 minutes were all over him. After 70 minutes, it got a little bit scary again. It seems like every game at the moment, after 70 minutes, we just seem to lose it a little bit, get scared, not confident what we're doing. But Watford, they were absolutely awful. I don't know what they did. They just didn't bring anything to the game whatsoever. I just thought, we played well, but I think we played well against a very, very poor Watford side.
Yep. Yeah. Every game feels a bit like that Cardiff game where we capitulated in the 70th, like from the 70th minute on, and conceded 3 goals and just Leeds it up. Maybe Bielsa's honeymoon phase is over and we're back to being Leeds again. Ewan, Watford 1-0.
Yeah. Again, it's hard to because I thought they were poor. The thing that bugs me about Leeds at the minute, which we didn't suffer from last year, apart from the odd game, is that decision making in the last third. It's just appalling. The number of chances we potential chances we create, the number of times we got to create a good situation to get a strike or create a very good chance, and the selection of the decision making at that point is really poor, and it's costing us because that's a game that did we get away with one with the free kick, disallowed their goal possibly. It was a bit of 6 and 2 3s, wasn't it? We're not getting the decisions. We talked about it today. When you're down there, you don't get the decisions. They looked like a fairly blatant penalty on Dan James, not given. But that's the problem. Put your chances away. You're always susceptible to last minute, that nervousness in the last 5 or 10 minutes, which we did. Fortunately, we held on, and that's where it may start. The bounce back may start from just getting that and grinding it out. And but we should have put them away. We should have put them to bed, far earlier than we did. So a bit frustrating. But we're getting there, aren't we? You've got to again trust your swing, and we'll get there.
Yeah, it feels like every little ricochet or bounce of the ball doesn't seem to be going our way, and we had so much quality compared to Watford. They were terrible. They were shite, weren't they? Let's not mince words here. They were one of the worst teams I've seen in the last few seasons. I mean, even teams like 10-man Wigan, even Hull, who we beat. We took them to the soul. We beat them 4-1. Even Roberts scored in that game.
Get off, fucking hell! They must have been shit, them there.
Watford was so bad. Speaking of Roberts, it was an excellent effort. Even when he's really good, he doesn't seem to be getting the look. So
you would still say that was a fluke, though, wouldn't you?
No, do you know what I said? I've just been pedantic now. I said, well, look at the first effort, though. He only got the second effort because he completely faffed the first one that came to him, and he completely missed it. Yeah, so I'm not going to be cruel to the man. He's one of ours, so it was one of ours, so we'll stick by him. Or at least.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. I didn't.
Tyler Roberts has joined the chat.
He took himself out.
He switched me off. He took me off because of Tyler Roberts' rant again. No, it's I think. I mean, looking forward to Southampton. Ward Prowse will be out, which is a massive plus bonus for us not to have him playing. So let's hope we can make it 2-2, and then the league looks different. Everybody feels different, more positive.
Yes. Round to your chat then. Hello, everybody. Nora's here. She's feeling a little bit better. Good evening.
Good
Paul
evening.
Homboy, good evening. Nora Barney, who brought the disco? That's a reference to Barney's headphones. Bandy, all right. Now, somebody's going to get hiding from us soon enough. It should have been Watford or the Hammers. We haven't quite linked again yet. Step on with Southampton. And Bremner's Ghost says evening or. Okay.
Amen.
Oh, and Derek Moore's here. Evening, fellas. International break. Doing my head in roll on Saturday. Yeah, we can talk about England if you want. Do you want to talk about England briefly?
It's pretty shit,
Not
really,
really.
wasn't it?
I didn't bother
It's hard to
watching
give a
them.
shit when Phillips isn't there. Yeah,
Yeah, I
when
didn't
Phillips
watch.
isn't
I
there,
just
it's
thought,
a
what's
shit,
the
but
point?
Yeah.
What's the point? Just no point whatsoever.
You knew you were going to beat Andorra and then Hungary. Yeah, it was just a bit of a tough game, really. But yeah, I think it's going to go down to the last game now, isn't it? Our qualification, which shouldn't really be happening with the sort of group we're in. But I think we're still definitely going to qualify. Just maybe put it down to the last game now, which is a bit shit. But isn't it? We'll still qualify. You're right.
Ewan, England.
I feel like I repeat myself regularly about various matters. England being one, just too slow, too pedestrian in the way they build up. Not enough options on the ball. Movement slow. You look at the squad and you think we've got a really good young, hungry squad. I thought Foden started really well, and then he went all England, didn't he? He sort of ran out of ideas and then got sick of not getting balls when he was breaking behind the line. And I think they're really frustrating to watch. I was sat watching it with my lads last night, and it was frustrating. Is the word. Again, similar to Leeds, poor decision making, final quality, at it with it. And then the thing for me, management wise, is I'm not a fan of Grealish as a personality. Been him enough stick about his diving around over the years, but he was having a cracking game, and he takes him off and kicks Mason Mount on, who was virtually invisible all game. I don't know what he's done to keep getting a game for England, because I've not seen him do anything for us. I think if you look at the two sides we've played who can play a bit, Poland and Hungary and Albania, you could throw into that mix who we've got to come yet. We didn't play well against Poland. We let them back into the game when we should have put it to bed. And, I thought looked like a decent side against us. I just thought we were at it, but there's too many games now where just not clicking as a team. And again, that passing it around the back foot 25 times and not being able to make 3 or 4 passes in the final again without any kind of cutting edge. When you saw Foden play those through balls and you saw them, there was a couple of times where I think it was Walker got the ball. They played it from the left-hand side across to the right, and he was running at people. A bit more sort of inspirational play, a bit more sort of instinctive, really, and at pace. And they sort of turn around and come back and start passing it around the back four again. It fucking breaks my heart, because that's not what football's about, is it? You get on the charge, you get at people, you get forward, you get a shot on goal, or you create a chance. It's frustrating, man.
I mean,
that's the point where you don't want to watch.
That's the one thing that Bielsa always praises Leeds for, isn't it? It's about taking risks, and even if we lose, we're still taking risks and having a go, and that's what football is about. But England, to me, it feels like what is the point? It's so difficult to even drum up the motivation to watch the games. I can't imagine if you've got 100 million in the bank, like some of these footballers must have. And the motivation to play Andorra. I don't know, everybody will say when you put on an England shirt, that should be motivation enough. And yeah, it should. But at the end of the day, it's still fucking Andorra.
I had to look at whereabouts that was, to be honest. I thought I knew where Andorra was as a country, and I was like, I had no idea it was between France and Spain.
It feels like the same thing with England as with Leeds as well. Like when Phillips isn't on the pitch, it's just not the same.
I mean, we did miss him. We did miss Phillips. You could see that a mile off. A lot of people have said after as well. You can see why he's in the team, and he should be the first name on the team sheet, and he should. The work he does, it was missed, but Hungary weren't too bad. They pressed us really well, and I think it's just about finding a way how we break down teams like that who have certain formations and sit in certain ways and set up. We sometimes don't have an answer for them, but then we roll over Germany 2-0, and we put in good performances against other teams. It's just finding ways to break down other teams that we sometimes don't have, and we'll get there in the end with Southgate. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but I'm not too arsed with.
And special mention to the Hungary fans. Vile,
bellends out there.
Yeah, get them all in the jail somewhere.
Awful, mate. Oh, Shay's come to say hello. Say hello, Shay. Look at his dirty knees, man. He's been out playing football. Look at him.
Oh, God.
Show them your Leeds. Show me your Leeds kit. Hey, it's an old one, that. The bus seat.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's good. There you go. Yeah, that's good. I can't see old.
For the benefit of people listening on the podcast, one of Ewan's offspring has entered the
naughty one. The naughty one.
A few more in the chat, then we can stop talking about England and move on very quickly into something more positive. Bremner's Ghost, England with pants. Funny to see the Met legging it. Beyond the 90 LCFC, that's a great Leicester City YouTube channel. That's Neil. Hey guys, I hope you're well. We're both pretty shy at the moment. Do you think Hasenhüttl will go before your game? Someone get football back, international break, doing my head in. Well, Neil, maybe Newcastle will pinch all of your players and your manager. That's from the rumours that I'm seeing. Nora says, I'm just here for all the positivity. That's right. Bandy, if it's not Leeds, it does not matter. LAFC leader, did you see Click's great assist? I didn't.
No, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, it was very nice, very nice. Yeah. Just the way he crossed the ball in, and the way Click just crosses the ball in, it's like without any effort. It's like there you go. It was just like the way it just clipped it in. Oh, nice assist. Yeah.
Who was on the end of it? Was it Lewandowski?
I'm not too sure who scored. Not too sure.
There was a wonderful assist that I did see a year ago, I think, where he just clipped it in and Lewandowski volleyed it. Yeah, I'd love to see a bit more end product from Click. We're going to need it, especially those goals which we sing about.
He's a good football. He's a good footballer at the end of the day. You know, I know he's been questioned about his fitness and is he 100% with it. You know, when he had COVID and he wasn't great fitness wise. He didn't look himself. But I tell you what, he's a good footballer. He's got a good football brain. Him and Rodrigo and Rafinha are linking up well. I think that'll click.
Hey,
no. You see what I did? See what I did there?
Terrible.
But yeah, it's. I think it'll come, and I do like him as a footballer. I think when he gets his fitness,
Click is just. A lot of people say, "What if this player's out of the team, like Phillips or Bamford?" But when Click is at his best, you miss a midfield. There's no other midfielder in that squad that can do the same as what Click can do. The way he brings players in, that he gets into those triangles, the way he does those little clip passes and gets into, then brings out all the players so other players get into space. He's such an intelligent footballer.
We don't have anyone else like him either, do we?
You know, exactly. And you've asked that question about England. You know, how do you break a team down? Against Watford, Click was the one that was doing that one. He was playing the sort of unexpected pass, bringing people into play. You know, finding people that nobody else would even see. I haven't got the vision to even see them, never mind, you know, get the pass to them. So I do have time for Click, and you know, I thought he was probably one of the standouts for me against Watford, to be fair.
Yeah, we had Pablo to do that for a few seasons. We don't have that kind of player, but I did think Rodrigo was quite impressive as a false nine against Watford. Gordon White, good evening, fellas. Calvin Phillips was major miss. Declan Rice couldn't change forward. Couldn't charge forward.
He was lost
because he couldn't trust anyone to cover.
Yeah.
Emma Oliver, Tyson Fury, Gypsy King #1. I should point out he is a scummer, but he's English, so we'll let him off. It was a great fight. We might talk about that.
He didn't go on about it though. He didn't go on about it though. Does he? You know, some people who support Man United, they never shut up about it, do they?
Yeah.
But he's not one of them, is he? He doesn't really talk about football massively.
No.
He keeps going on about Morecambe and stuff, right? More than Man United. So
and Jesus Christ.
He does. He didn't care it was Black History Month, did he? He just got, you know, knocked him all over the place.
LAFC leader, is Bamford back for the weekend? Is he?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he is.
I listened to him. fantasy league podcast, and he was on there. Comedians do it. John Richardson does it, and he said he'd be out for another couple of weeks. So I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about it either, but I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow.
Do you know what happened with Bamford? Bamford came to. So my lads play at Leeds City Juniors, and they're based at Adel, and they have a sports and social club there. It's a really good setup actually. And there was a Sunday where I have a game we were playing away, I think, but the second team, and he was in the clubhouse with his physio. Oh. So there's loads of the kids got photo stuff up at Adel. So we were gutted at my little like, why couldn't we have seen him? I was like, I know. It's one of them because we go in the clubhouse quite a lot. Apparently, we're sat in there having a coffee with his physio. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so moving on then. Black History Month. I know you've got a big piece on this that you want to talk about, but
it's got a sizable piece.
Wow,
yeah, it's huge, man. My piece is massive.
So I might get you, Barney, and you, Sam, to maybe reel off some of your favourite Black Leeds players.
Go on, Sam.
For me, it's probably Lucas Radaby's number one. From what I've seen anyway, it's probably going to be Lucas Radaby. Just for the story of him coming to Leeds, there wasn't many black players around at that time, and he had to make a name for himself. Sure. He had to work his way up, and he had to find somewhere to live, and it must have been all crazy and new for him. And he was just such a solid leader for so many years, and I absolutely loved his testimonial. That was another thing that was absolutely brilliant. I just love the man. He was such a smiley, happy man. He's been through some awful stuff with his family as well. Awful stuff back in South Africa as well, which I'm sure we all know about. And, to get through the other side and be such an inspirational leader and smiley man, he's a great professional.
I can hear you on here.
And I love a good centre-back, personally. I love how strong he was in the air and how commanding he was. I really... it's quite an inspiration to a lot of young players how to carry themselves and how to play. And I think he'd do a job now. To be honest, I think he'd still be absolutely brilliant if his knees weren't made of chocolate. I think he'd be brilliant. But yeah, I've got to say probably Radaby, and I know that's probably a lot of people's answer, but he's such a brilliant guy, and his smile as well. Man, that's something I love. I love a good smiley guy. So yeah, Lucas Radaby's got to be mine.
The Chief.
The Chief, yeah. I loved his haircuts as well.
Radaby was in Harvey Nichols the day after his testimonial, and I had the ticket in my bloody wallet. I was with my missus in Harvey Nichols and went and spoke to him. It was absolutely delightful. Not thinking I've got the ticket in my back pocket. I could have got him to sign it all along. And I'm not that kind of person. I always feel like I'm a bit too cool to ask for signatures and
you are a bit, aren't you?
It was absolutely beautiful, man. And when I sort of walked away from him, when you suddenly get that moment of clarity, and I was like, shit, I've got the ticket from yesterday. I could have got him to sign it anyway. It's gone now, on it.
Still to see
sign it one day. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant bloke.
I remember seeing Lucas in Sainsbury's. I was with my mum, and he was in a big cast. And I don't think I've ever been so nervous to speak to anyone in my life before or after. I was just way too scared to talk to him.
Yeah, not surprised.
Barnes?
Well, you've chosen the Chiefs, so I've got to choose Yeboah. I mean, I'm the era of when he was scoring those absolute thunder blasters, and he was such a great footballer as well. People forget that he was actually a really good footballer, but some of the goals that he scored were absolutely outrageous. And even the new generations of the Premier League now look at those goals now and think, flipping heck, they were good goals. And the fact he came to Yorkshire, and the first thing he loved to eat was Yorkshire puddings.
He got a sponsorship, didn't he?
Did he get a sponsorship?
Yeah, he got sponsored, and he had to cancel it. We did a whole podcast on Yeboah. If you want to go back through the YouTube catalog, there's a great podcast that we did. I think it was with Badger.
Yorkshire puddings went straight onto his thighs and his arse, didn't it? All that Yorkshire pudding. He must have had bollocks.
Too many.
Bollocks like toffee pens were massive.
Yeah. He had to stop. He had to stop because he was being told he got too fat.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it?
He had 58% body fat.
I go to a punk festival in Blackpool, and there's loads of people come all over from Europe. There's some German people that come over, and they support Eintracht Frankfurt. And there's a actual, when you're coming into the city on the train track, there's a mural on the side of one of the flats of just his face. It looks absolutely amazing. So he's not just a cult hero at Leeds; he's a cult hero there as well. It's just a shame what happened at the end of his tenure at the club and how George Graham treated him as well. It's a real shame because he was such a player for us.
Yeah, he was the top scorer in the Bundesliga, wasn't he? Before we bought him.
I think players that maybe don't have such a long career at a club, you think of them even more fondly, really, don't you? It's happened a few times, isn't it, where players, even if they leave on bad terms, you think about the 1, 2, 3 seasons, whatever it is that they've had, and you think about them so fondly, and it's
Well, depends where they go. Depends where they go.
So. Oh yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
I will say there is one more player that I know I might get pelters for, but Rio Ferdinand is the best centre back I've ever seen play for Leeds.
Yeah.
And he was an absolutely immense captain as well. And I know a lot of people will say the Chief, but Rio Ferdinand was on another level the way he played football as a defender. He was a defender that would fit in today's game rather than 20 years ago, because what he used to do as a defender then was bring the ball out, like to play football, which we weren't used to then.
It's at Barney LUFC.
It's so bastard. Barney MUFC.
Bremner's Ghost Chief and Yeboah. Bandy says Mick Jones was my favourite centre forward. However, Anthony Yeboah was the best we've ever seen at Leeds United. Bremner's Ghost. Victor ought to be checking out Kelvin Yeboah. He's scoring for fun at Sturmgrass. That's is he adopted? I think he might be his adopted nephew, something like that.
Right.
Bandy Fornoski, Chris White, and Chris Faircloth. Bremner's Ghost said, talking of Munster thighs, Noel Blake had oak trees.
We're going to get on to Noel Blake in a minute, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go quickly and then we'll pass it off to Ewan. So you've taken the Chief and Yeboah. I'm going to have to say Brian Dean.
Dino.
Just for no other reason other than Manchester United, Leeds United 2, Manchester United 1, September 1994, and I think it was my 4th ever game. I was 9 years old, I think, or 10. No, I was 8, and just 35,000 people screaming Dino, Dino, and we beat the Scum 2-1, and it was the loudest noise I'd ever heard until I think Deportivo
Sam's party of the week.
Got them all out tonight, don't worry. Yeah, I won't be interrupting anyone tonight.
Sorry, Johnny.
No worries. And the other one was Rod Wallace. Tricky little player.
Yeah, it was good.
Run rings around you. Very, very creative. Very hardworking. So that's my 2. Ewan.
Well, it's amazing. Just quickly, Radebe, amazing. He was kind of bought almost to keep Masinga company, wasn't he? It was kind of a bit of a second thought, and started in the midfield and looked lost. It was completely lost. Got that injury and kind of came back like they'd made him into Bionic Man and put him at centre half, and the rest's history. A legend of a player, and I don't use that word lightly. He was cracker. And we've had a history of signing. Yeboah, honestly, it still pisses me off now. It really does get to me that George Graham exiled him and treated him so poorly, and then moved to Tottenham. Quite not quickly afterwards, but it didn't have Leeds' best interest at heart long term anyway. Just all about himself, and moved one of the best, most exciting, explosive footballers I've ever watched away from Leeds United. He should have finished his career at Leeds, but you never know what might have happened. Sam said it's a bit like a good band, in it. The bands that you kind of never got to see almost run out of steam and run out of ideas, almost a special place in your heart because you didn't get to see what could have been. You just got that kind of initial honeymoon and that love affair with him, and then didn't get to see him move on. I think that's quite important to say that. But I'd love to see Mono Yeboah. He was just, he had his own goal of the season competition every year, didn't he? He was just absolutely outstanding footballer. And as Barney said, people see the outstanding explosive finishes, but boy, could he run with the ball, and he was good with his feet. And centre halves would have hated to play against him. I don't care which centre half it was. Just quickly on Ferdinand, anybody who says he wasn't, the best at Leeds, and I'm not saying that Woodgate wasn't brilliant, Radaby wasn't great. We've had some great centre halves. He's just bitter about where he went to, and about it. He's a bit of a cock these days as well, isn't he? Which doesn't help. But he was a fantastic footballer, and in a different league. He was years ahead of his time. How he played, how he carried the ball out from defence. Very few, bar Woodgate probably at Leeds, did that. So cracking player. Anyway. So I want to talk really quickly, or not too quickly, about not just for the football ability and not particularly in a massively successful period for the club, but for the way that they changed people's outlook towards black footballers. If we're talking about Black History Month, and I want to talk about two players that changed the way the stands perceived black footballers and black players, and definitely changed the mentality of a lot of young people coming into the ground at that time, 88, 89. And that's Noel Blake and Vince Hilaire. Because I was there at that time. I was 17, very, again, we've talked about looking for that identity. Lots of very right-wing influences around you at football. In that stadium, outside the stadium, National Front sold pamphlets and gave you leaf stickers and stuff to stick around your school and so on, or around your college, or, around your estate or whatever. So there was a lot of very right-wing influences in the ground. Some of the songs, can't repeat them now. Obviously, we all know them. Songs about Bradford, songs about certain, incidents whereby there was a lot of racist language that went on in a football stadium at that time that was accepted. And I think what Noel Blake and Vince Hilaire did was completely change a lot of people's mentality going into that football stadium, and made it uncomfortable to sing songs and treat black footballers the way they were to come in. Blake became that sort of rock at the back, that he was a player that people respected. He was a bit of a fan on the pitch because he wouldn't take any messing about. He wouldn't have anybody trample on his stuck into people if they did. But he was a hard bastard. You wouldn't want to take him on either. I reckon if he did sing right-wing songs, he'd come into the low fields and probably knock half of them anyway. But it was a cracking sort of iconic figure to bring into the club at that time, and a player that we needed. I remember once we were sat in the low fields, and he sort of came past, and the people were singing his name. They used to call him Bruno, Bruno, and he stuck his thumb up, and my mate went, "Fucking hell, look at the size of his thumb. Never mind his thighs. Like, he was just a big lump of a bloke." But those players changed. Vince Hilaire, skillful winger, probably didn't play as much as he did. I think he played 50-odd games, signed in 88, the summer of 88, as did Blake. Left 51 games later. I think it was the following summer to go to Stoke. Noel Blake left to go to Stoke as well, a couple of years at Leeds. But it wasn't necessarily that influence, as I'm saying, on the pitch, or I think Noel Blake again, 51 games or something, 6-7 goals. But I remember him being an exciting footballer to watch. He got great footballs into the box. One of my frustrations these days is players seem to have lost the ability to cross a ball properly and pick people out in the box. He definitely wasn't one of them. He could pinpoint a cross. He was very good at making space and getting crosses in, beating a man down the byline and getting crosses in. But like I said, the reason I wanted to mention those two, amongst the host of brilliant black footballers we've had, Chris Fairclough's another favourite of mine. Hard as nails, great footballer, ahead of his time, a perfect signing for our club at that time. Should have played more games for Leeds United than he did. I've said to Donny today, I think it was the day after they got promotion or they won the title, like that week, we were all having a kickabout in Roundy Park, and he walked past with a little kid and his missus, and somebody shouted, "Oh, gives a game, let's have a kickabout, Chris," and took his tan suede jacket off that was probably quite expensive at the time, put it down as a goalpost, and had a kickabout with us. I love Chris Fairclough to pieces. He was absolute nails football as well, hard as nails. But I've got to mention those two because they were the kind of pioneers, I guess, of I know we'd had Terry Connor and Albert Johansson previous to that, but at that time, Leeds and the fans and that fan base and that ground was going down a very slippery path, and I think they changed and transformed the way, you're not going to change everybody, but transformed the way a lot of young people felt about how you should get behind black footballers and not be so prejudiced towards them. Because I'd been at a Crystal Palace game not long or around that time where, there were certain black players were coined, there were certain songs sung at those people, which are abhorrent and disgusting, but were kind of normalised in the stadium at that time, late, 87, 88. And again, those guys completely changed that almost overnight, and certainly changed my opinions, and certainly changed the way that you behaved in the stadium, towards black footballers. And I think that's a brilliant thing, not just the football legacy, but a legacy way beyond football that they created in my club, in my stadium, in my city, which is a massive thing to be able to claim. Whether they know that or not, those two gentlemen, I don't know, but I hope they do, because that's how it felt to me as a young man in Ellen Road at that time.
Can I just ask a question? Because I was only 6 or 7 during those times. Was Ellen Road...
fucking rub it in, Barney.
was Ellen Road that bad, or was it just generally in football that bad, or was Ellen Road like the pinnacle of actually veering onto that side of never coming back?
I think Leeds is a more cosmopolitan city than some places you go to, so there was always going to be a change, I think, coming. But certainly, Barney, it was. Yeah, I mean, some of the songs, were disgusting, very right wing, very racist. I wouldn't say black players, particularly on the opposition, got any special treatment, because everybody was hated, everybody got coined, but there was definitely things that I saw, things that I heard, which made me uncomfortable at the time. And I do think that it was accepted. It was normal to sort of carry on that way. Now, I've always said that, particularly at that time, less so now, you had to leave your dignity and your humanity at the door, really, back in the 80s, going in a football ground. You're in the low fields getting ragged about, surging, climbing fences. There was a lot of things went on which you couldn't do now. And that tribal mentality and that kind of almost faceless mentality, you're in a crowd stood up where it was a bit more faceless. People got away with more and felt they could behave in a certain way. It was almost, peer pressure, or to impress the older lads in there that were quite sort of right wing, I guess. So there was a lot of young people, I think, that felt like it was okay to do that, and maybe walked away from that stadium, went back to their communities, and would never dream of having those opinions. Ellen Road became a kind of sink for it, really. You know what I mean? And it wasn't healthy, and it wasn't nice. So, I think the whole of football's moved. I know people are saying we're regressing and we're going backwards now, but we're certainly not, because it was a lot worse back then, and it was a lot more accepted. You didn't see females, certainly very few black faces in the crowd, if any. And you've watched some of the documentaries recently that John Barnes has been involved with, other black footballers, Ian Wright, and the what they were subjected to. Laurie Cunningham, Cyril Regis. Great iconic black footballers were subjected to just fucking the worst type of behaviour. And I think it did become a thing at football that was normal to do it, Barney, and that's the difference. And I think they changed it, definitely markedly changed it, because how could you do that, go to a football ground and give the opposition sort of footballer a grief about his colour of his skin or his race, and then cheer on Hilaire and Bruno? Listen, there's a lot of two-faced people at football who would probably quite comfortably do that, but I think a lot of young people who were like maybe a little bit more educated around it, even then in the 80s, just didn't feel comfortable doing it.
Yep, wonderful reminiscing of such a pivotal time in society in general. I think the late 80s, there was a big shift, wasn't there? And a lot of information got out, and I just think that there was a great movement as well from the fanzines at the time, marching all together in the square ball to kick out the National Front from Ellen Road. A few of your comments. Paul Hornby, Woody was better than Rio. Bremner's Ghost Graham just wanted to win 1-0. Paul says nobody else had a player like you, Boa. Jive 91, Bruno. Love Noel Blake. Yeah. I was in the Caribbean when George Graham signed for Leeds, and I was heartbroken. The only good thing he did was bring David O'Leary with him. Paul says, agree, Bandy seemed to dislike us. Jive says, Chris Faircloth, Chris White, Roddy Wallace, loved all of them players. Bandy says, I remember Paul Reaney. George Best could not cope with him. Reaney was my first hero. Stoic, says Paul. And Bandy says, Ellen Road was a shocking place to go as a black man.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, just Noel Blake as well. You used to see him in Chain Bull and in town, Mr. Craig's and stuff. It was dead funny because you used to see him, Vinnie Jones, a few of the players, even McAllister later on. Used to see them sort of in the nightclubs, which you'd never get now. And Noel Blake, used to smoke cigars, so he'd be stood like at the bar with his big cigar, big old lad, and big character as well. Again, probably him and Hilaire probably didn't play enough for Leeds, but great characters around town. I think the other thing really on that era, the rave scene, the acid house scene came about, and that changed again perceptions again. People, you did vision of where black and white people went in Leeds anymore. You went to the same clubs. It's about education. Racism's ignorance, isn't it? So as soon as you started to mingle and hang around with lads like that from Chapeltown and other parts of Leeds, you realise that we're all in it for the same thing, to have a good time, and we didn't want to be going out and carrying on in town anymore, Precinct and all these places. You went to clubs together and got on and had a good time. So the rave scene and the kind of summer of love and all that, for much it's a bit of a cliche, did change a lot of that. Leeds as a city as well changed quite quickly because of it. Certainly the night scene did, yeah.
All right. A couple more comments, then we'll move on. Bandy, Bowie says, honest to God, when I was a kid growing up supporting Leeds, I never realised Rooney was black. And Paul says, Rooney, sorry. Speedy
Rooney's black, bloody hell. We're breaking stuff on this podcast, man. We're breaking stuff.
Breaking news. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, that poor girl out of Little Mix has been getting enough grief for, pretending to be black, hasn't she? But I didn't realise Rooney was out here as well.
And Paul says, I only did when I saw Leeds live. Right. Newcastle have been taken over by Saudi Arabia.
Ooh.
What does that mean for the Premier League?
It's not going to make it any better, is it? Fucking hell. It's not going to make it any better. It's not a good thing, is it? Really, more of these horrific countries basically buying clubs, and just as a little showy off thing, isn't it? They've not got any of the fans at heart. They've not got anything like that at heart. They're just there to boast about it, really, and just view it as a little toy, just the little thing to do. And it's not going to do us any good. They're going to overinflate prices, pay way too much, but then again, we could sell players to them for a lot of money. But it's not good. And I don't like the argument of, look at Russia, Chelsea and who their owners are, and Man City who their owners are, because you can't just keep saying that and then back the Saudis. They're amongst the worst with the human rights and how they treat people and of colour, people of different sexualities. It's awful what they do. And you see Geordie fans waving about Saudi Arabian flag, and it's just like, how can you do that? How on earth can you even joke about backing that regime? And I think the more money you pump into this foul league as it already is, the worse it's going to get. I don't think it's going to be too long till we're all owned by someone who's a bit naughty. But it's not good. It's not good at all. I know Newcastle wanted rid of Mike Ashley, right? So, but you're replacing it with someone who's a different ball game altogether. Someone who's a 0 hours contract, but then you've got like Mike Ashley was, but then you've got someone who they behead people and stone people to death for being gay and black, and it's just like, what on earth? You can't even. It's not in my eyes. You don't joke about that, even if you wanted Mike Ashley out. It's disgusting, but not good at all, I don't think.
Barney, Arabia Shore.
Well, I think it's grim. I think it's grim for not just for the Premier League. I think it's grim for European football, where you can have owners coming in with atrocious human rights, and no one blinks an eyelid because it's just more money coming into the game.
It's been a cheery podcast so far.
I understand why. I think it's shown this week as well how Newcastle fans are completely blinkered to what's going on at their club. Yes, Mike Ashley left. He didn't run the club into the ground. He made him quite a good business model to how a football club should be run. He didn't invest in certain facilities, no, but it's a business that was making a profit. Was it last season where they made a 34 million profit or something? Which is,
I think which
is unheard of.
They're in good stead now. Yeah,
and I think Newcastle fans are completely blinkered to where they're going to go. I mean, they're saying, "Oh, we can just go out and buy every single player we want," but it's not that easy. You're not going to be challenging for the Premier League. You're not going to get into the Champions League for at least 4 or 5 seasons. And I think some of the statements that came out from some of the trusts from Newcastle were embarrassing. When you're at the trust, a trust of a club should be its critical friend, not making friends with the enemy. I mean, the LGP community, Newcastle Trust, what their statement was absolutely atrocious. And if I was part of that community and that statement came out, I'll be wondering, why am I with this trust? The actual Newcastle Trust would seem to be quite naive because an owner's come in with a load of money. And it just doesn't sit right with me. And a lot of fans on social media, Newcastle fans, were saying, you're just jealous. I'm not jealous. I just think that, yes, we want to be in this league. It's a fantastic league. At the end of the day, it's fantastic football. But it doesn't sit right with me, some of this. It just does not sit right. It's more and more money coming into the league. And also the so-called top 6, top 4, they're shitting themselves now as well because they're thinking, hang on a minute, there's someone that's got more money than us. They're going to take away our spot now in the Champions League and the so-called Super League if it ever happens as well. It just does not sit right with me, the whole ethical side to it.
I think my problem is that football's become about buying trophies, not about the coaches' ideas, like coaches versus coaches and players versus players and locations versus locations. And it's not about how well you coach and train and the playing style. It's about how much money you've got and how much you're willing to get in debt. And how easily you can get around FFP. So I think there's definitely that problem with it. There's the human rights side, which is extremely bad, but I don't see how that's going to change. Like, the argument could be made to say, well, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So if they sort of pally up to this regime, then maybe they can influence them by having chats and so on, rather than making a big protest. But if you saw with the European Super League, that got shut down within a day because of a protest. And the Gaviscon badge got shut down within hours because of a protest.
RIP.
And it doesn't make it easier for Leeds to get into Europe either, I don't think. If you've got 8 clubs, 8 very rich clubs to compete with. But yes, it's a bit weird. And the fact that they've passed this fit and proper test is weird as well.
I'd love to see the findings of that and see the written report of that. We never will we? But
they get a stethoscope. They get a stethoscope out and put it on their heart and go, "Yeah, he's alive," and that's fucking it. That's the fit and proper test.
One of the most shocking part of it is that the government, apparently, the Premier League and the Premier League put a what's the word? I forgot. Trail. Asked for some information, Freedom of Information Act. Yeah. And the government gave them some information, but apparently that information will not be circulated publicly, what they found out. So that's just alarm bells for me straight away.
Yeah.
Shock horror. Well, a different angle for me is my dad's a lot of my family are Geordies and Newcastle fans. My dad is, and my dad's, got pretty high moral compass, and he wasn't happy at all. I've heard lots of Geordies say the opposite and revel in it, but my dad wasn't comfortable with it at all. And I think the thing with the Ashley, it's a bit like, it's not like, it's completely different, but similarity to when Bates left and everybody was just happy to get Cellino, not knowing there was skeletons in the cupboard, knowing that, not knowing much about the kid. It was just almost, he's got to be Bates anymore, which we were relieved to get rid of Bates, who was an absolute tyrant. He was, Mike Ashley's far better than Ken Bates or Cellino, and it's almost like they've just, they're a big club, aren't they, with a massive fan base. They've just settled for anything just to get themselves back to where they believe that they belong. And I don't wish any bad on Newcastle fans. I say a lot of my family are Geordies, and I think they have been hard done to, but to succumb to that regime in the way they have, and sort of have their pants down for them, and sort of greet him with open arms, and sort of say, well, it's not the government, it's this IPF company or whatever it is, ICF, whatever the companies that have come in and taken them. It's blatantly obvious, and I think don't they call it football rinsing or something, where they, like Qatar have done it, haven't they, by hosting a World Cup to try and use football as a way to create positive PR around the regime in the country, and it's complete
sports
bollocks.
washing.
Sports washing, that's the one. Yeah, it was something to do with sport and having a wash, but it's awful. It's awful. So ball washing, they call it ball washing, don't they? It's not right. But you have to see how it pans out, because money doesn't know. Without everything else behind the scenes, it doesn't guarantee you success. Although I think he's about 10 times richer than the guy who owns Man City. So I mean, he was. I think the book that David Conn wrote was titled "Richer Than God." So what's this guy richer than God? Jesus, disciples. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's toy money, isn't it? So God knows what kind of journey Newcastle are going to go on, and they'll be coming in for everybody, won't they?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, when we saw the scenes at Kabul airport, and you looked into the Taliban and everything, it was completely shocking how the allied forces, or whatever they're calling themselves these days, just got out of Afghanistan and just left those poor people to live under that regime. But at the same time, I don't think Newcastle fans or football in general can solve these massive global issues. So you know what I mean? But I think you nailed it on the head, Sam, with the first thing that was said on this topic, which was, and something Wiggy's just alluded to as well, is these trusts and the LGBTQ Newcastle group statement that came out. Those were opportunities to say, look, what you're doing is wrong, we don't approve of it, and we're not going to stand by it, and we're not going to, just because you own the club doesn't mean that we can do anything about that. The government or the Premier League should have stopped it. We might not be able to do anything about it, but we don't agree with what you're doing, and you need to stop that.
That's it, isn't it? Like, they obviously can't help who owns the club, they can't control who owns the club, but they can not be bellends about it and go about where it, all brandishing Saudi Arabian flags and embracing it all. There's two separate things there, isn't there? There's supporting your club and supporting your football team, but then there's going against that and going for a country that is just awful for human rights. It's a separate issue, and I just feel like they've got that completely wrong. But yeah,
Wiggy's in a great place to comment on it, because you think about the great work that Marching Out Together has done, and the club have been pivotal in supporting and backing. And the regime at Leeds United's been, really supportive in making sure that message gets out there. Are Newcastle's trusts and bodies like that going to be able to do that with that regime in charge? It's unlikely, isn't it? They're not going to get the same backing, I wouldn't have thought. Are they going to go on a big PR exercise where they do start to embrace stuff like that? But ultimately, if they do, knowing that it is the Saudi Arabian government behind that purchase and behind the club now, it's just hollow words, isn't it? Because, like you say, the human rights record behind the scenes where it can't be witnessed and so on. Awful, and Wiggy's in a great place to comment on that, probably more so. But it is worrying. And like you said, the thing about football, let's be honest, I think Gordon Strachan did an interview 20 years ago, where he commented about, it might have been longer ago, that football's got no morals. It hasn't had morals for a long, long time. So let's not pretend that all of a sudden, Newcastle are the first people to do it. Football's been soulless when it comes to morals for a lot of years, since the Premier League started, particularly. A lot of good things to come from it, but a lot of bad things as well.
Yeah, and the one last thing that I want to say about it is it's a bit like FIFA or something. LMA manager for me. That's going back a long time. When you put in a cheat, you'd put in a cheat code, and you'd buy all the players you want, and you just felt dirty at the end of it, like
violated.
Yeah, you cheated.
Yeah. If you can get Israel to buy Sunderland, fucking hell. Imagine the Tyne-Wear derby then.
There'd definitely be some fog on the Tyne then, wouldn't there?
Okay, there'd be be scuds on the Tyne. Fucking, there'd be all kinds of shit. Rocket propelled grenades on the Tyne. There'd be the lot, man. It'd be fucking. I tell you what, that'd be. that'd make Fury Wilder 3 look like a fucking. You know what I mean? Handbags in the playground, wouldn't it? Let's do it properly.
Peace and quiet at last, youngest asleep. That's fantastic. Well done, congratulations, Bremner.
It is.
Paul Humbert, it's a stick to poke Newcastle with. The chants are going to be grim. Bremner says Sandcastle United. Started already. When all is said and done, Newcastle fans might not end up as happy as it seems they would be. However, once again, if it's not Leeds, it doesn't matter. Paul says it's not a good foundation for success. Karma. Jive says barcodes want to think themselves lucky. Ashley was mild better than Bates and Chilino. Wiki says, of course, this is very personal to me, but the Newcastle with pride statement wasn't exactly great. And Callum says, hi, guys. I know it's not Leeds related, but hope David Brooks recovers after finding out he has cancer. Hodgkin's lymphoma, isn't it? It's so weird when really fit young people
24-year-old
extreme disease.
I think it's got a good rate of people getting through it, so let's fingers crossed it does pull through. So I read that today. Not nice.
Okay, Woody, how much time you got?
10 minutes.
Okay. Did anybody watch the Tyson Fury fight?
Yes, loved it. Woke up for it. Yeah, absolutely loved it. It's not often you wake up or stay up or whatever it is to watch a fight, and it's worth it. But that one really was a hell of a fight, and you just knew it was third time round. They're going to try that bit harder, one win apiece each. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Fury's my favourite fighter by a mile, and just such a character and hell of a story as well. He's it's like why we like sports, isn't it? For characters and people like that. And yeah, I love him, and I think it was it was a great fight.
Okay, to
bring some win, wasn't it? Draw and a win.
Was it a draw? Yeah, it was.
The first one was a draw. Yeah.
It's so long ago now.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
To bring some balance, maybe Barney, you were shaking your head. You didn't watch the fight. Not into that.
I don't get boxing, to be honest. That just don't appeal to me. No,
it's quite simple, Barney.
I'm a lover.
Not fighter, Barney.
Yeah, I'm too good looking to fight anyway. So if I got hit, I'd
ruin that face, mate. It's a moneymaker.
Exactly.
I want to ruin those looks, do you, Barney?
I thought it was the best fight I've ever seen.
It's great, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
You've not seen Hagler Hearns. Hagler Hearns, I'll refer you to Hagler Hearns, Your Honour.
Bless you.
Or Eubank Watson, which you can never watch ever again because of what happened at the Eubank Nigel Benn. I could keep going. There's been some great fights. It was a good fight though. Very good fight.
You just didn't know which way it was going to go.
No, there was bits where it could have gone either way, weren't there?
Yeah, it was that bit at the end of the 10th where Wilder kind of came back and started swinging himself, and you just knew that if he connected, Fury was going to go down, and it was always that what's going to happen, that tension that just kept going on and on and on, even though Fury was winning by a mile. Wilder's punches just seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, they did.
A few people are writing about the fight. Nora says it was absolutely amazing, that fight. Brendan's Ghost, great fight, great trilogy. The Wilder memes are hilarious. Nora said happily got up early for that. Paul says felt sorry for Wilder. No better now than 2012. Poorly led, trained, and managed. Yeah, I think he might be a bit dumb. Like,
imagine getting punched for a living though. It's gonna take its toll, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, he's got caught up in his own hype as Wilder. It's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? He had a period where he was, dominating, and and he never really seemed to want to work. I mean, he looked like he worked really hard to get in shape for this fight and stuff. So you can't criticize that, but I can't like him at all. I think he's really hard to like as a personality. He tries to intimidate people outside the ring. Fury had the beating of him mentally and psychologically before the fight and before both fights, really. And I think that the thing that changed it was the first fight where Fury got up when Wilder thought he was finished. And Wilder was almost celebrating in his own corner, and Fury just got back up like he was, the living dead.
Yeah,
I think that finished Wilder mentally for the rest, and then he didn't just get up. He then started laying into.
Yeah, that was amazing. That wasn't it?
In the first fight, that was fantastic. Yeah. So I think he had him psychologically, but I don't think he was prepared to. I don't know. I just don't like the kid, and I think he got into his head. Then he did Fury, which he does really well. So yeah, good. I hope I don't like Wilder at all. I think his personality stinks, but just another loudmouth American put to sleep. So there you go. Well done, Tyson.
Yes, it was quite satisfying. Bren was Ghost, also funny that Wilder couldn't sell out the stadium without Fury fans there. And Nora says, I love how Barney is just sitting there like a statue.
A beautiful statue, though.
Right. So we'll move quickly back onto Leeds United. We'll finish with a bit of a preview of the Southampton game. And Callum was talking about this. Hope James is raring to go on Saturday. I hope Phillips is back. Do you think Harrison will make the most of the season? Will spend most of the season on the bench because of James?
I mean, I don't think Rafi's playing. He's going to play, is he? He's coming back, early Friday morning, I think it is. Surely he can't be playing. Surely he probably wouldn't be on the bench. I mean, he's going to be knackered, isn't he?
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
I bet he'll play Rafinha, won't he?
Takes about half an hour for me to walk to work, and by the time I get there, I'm fucked.
And he's coming from Brazil,
man. Never mind Brazil. What happened to all this quarantine, isolating?
I know, that's something went up in the head, isn't it? I don't know. Did the government or the FA agree something?
COVID's over,
radar, didn't it?
Is it over?
It's over.
Yeah, it's finished, mate.
Says the person who currently has COVID.
Nah, it's over, mate.
It's just a common cold. That's all it is.
Yeah. It's funny because COVID doesn't know when you're an international footballer traveling across international boundaries. It doesn't know if you live in Wales. It doesn't know that it's midnight. It doesn't recognise, after midnight, COVID can't exist. So there's loads of things COVID can't do. So that's all you've got to do is work your way around it. It's fine.
And Rafinha would probably nutmeg COVID anyway. So it's fine.
Right. That's a good one, actually. Nutmeg COVID. Get the vaccine.
Get in there.
Oh, dear. Southampton.
Yeah, they're shit, aren't they?
Are they?
Don't say that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did them twice last season, and they had a way better team that they're going to have. They've got Ward-Prowse out. I think, what's his face, who we nearly signed, striker.
Ched Adams.
Ched Adams, I think he's out. They sold Vestergaard, they sold Ings. Come on, they're so much worse than they were last season.
So we though.
Saying that's what I mean. One win, and I think that's the confidence we need, and an away game as well, which we sometimes we quite like an away game, don't we? Really, less pressure and hell of an away following. I'm quite confident, especially after the win against Watford. I'm quite confident about this one, but they're not good, are they? They're shit. They've had a couple of good draws. I think they drew against Man City, didn't they? Which is a good draw, but they still haven't won yet. And I don't think that's going to come this weekend. It's going to be a Leeds win for me.
Good lad.
Yep.
Confident.
They've lost to Everton. They drew against the Scum. They beat Newport County 8-0.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
8-0, fucking hell.
More than we could manage.
I'll take that back. We're getting battered. We're losing now. Fuck.
They drew 2-2 with Newcastle. They drew 0-0 with 10-man West Ham. They drew 0-0 with Man City. Oof. So entertainers.
Yeah.
Well, apart from the Newport game. Beaten by Wolves 1-0. Lost to Chelsea 3-1, but they were down to 10 men. So yes, still searching for their first win. 2 points less than Leeds.
Fuck them.
I think we'll do all right. I think Ward Prowse missing's a biggie for me, which is the dominant player. Set pieces, which we're not great on either. I think that's a big miss for them. Hopefully, like I say, we'll make it 2-2, and again, league looks different. People's confidence goes up, belief starts to return, and that's what we need, isn't it? So, fingers crossed. Can I just say the worst away journey ever? Fucking hell, whether it was the Dell or whether it was St Mary's, that is one hell of a journey, man. Yeah, we even stayed in London a couple of times and went down there. And even from London to there, which you look on a map and think, oh, that's sound. You get on one of them rattler trains, goes to Alt Farmers Fields, and you're on it for ages. And you've had far too much to drink in London. They don't let you drink on that train, so you're starting to sober up, start to get an hangover on the train. So you get to Southampton with that thick head where you're just like, oh fucking hell. Get me to the pub quick. I need to have a shot of whiskey or something.
Can't you put a bit of cheeky vodka in your orange juice or something?
Yeah.
Think outside the box, Ewan. Come on.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. Organised the one I got on train thinking, like, when you go to continental Europe and you can go get a beer in the bar on the train, but yeah, not on train.
It was Southampton where the advertising hoardings were so close to the back of the net that I think it was it Bridges who smashed the ball in, and then it came out like in ping table football, foosball.
Is that when he scored the hat trick?
All I remember is
I don't know.
We scored and then we didn't because it bounced off the advertising board and the ref missed it. I'm sure that was Southampton.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was at the Dell, wasn't it? The old Dell.
Get in your score predictions now in the chat, and I'm going to read them out. Wardy, score prediction?
I agree with Nora, 3-1 Leeds.
Barney?
2-0. And Rodrigo's going to score.
Yeah, he's starting.
Wow. Not Roberts? Ewan?
Go on then, he will. Yeah, Rodrigo, Roberts, there you go.
Listen, even a broken clock's right twice a day, Barney. You keep saying he's going to score every game. You're bound to get it right eventually. Come on. I'm going to go. I've just seen McAllister Bishop put up. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds. It's never going to be easy. We'll make it difficult. It'll be 2-0 up with 10 minutes left, concede, and we'll all be sat biting his nails. What's left of his nails for the last few minutes? You know what I mean? I'm in cynical mood tonight, mate. I'm in proper, like, you know, it is.
I agree, actually. I think it's going to be 3-2, maybe. Could be 2-1. And I think Firpo's going to score. That's my prediction.
Get it in. I like that.
Okay. Last bit of chat, and then we'll say our goodbyes, Paul. We are beginning to get a subs bench that can change a game. Bremnes goes 5-0 against the Saints.
Oh, yes.
Bandy says the Saints are so poor, I'm scared to predict a score.
I'm going to say poorer than Watford. Poorer than Watford, no.
Right. Nora says 3-1 Leeds. Bremner's Ghost feels weird having a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Wiki says Raf should be on the bench for me and only used if we need him in the last 20 minutes. If we're winning comfortably, then don't bring him on. James and Harrison. Right. James and
took him on.
Right. James and Harrison have this. Callum Sharp. Hope Bamford is back as well. What's your lot lineups? Jeez, we're not going to predict the whole lineup. Speaking of lineups, I saw on the Liverpool Echo that Liverpool are monitoring Meslier, Phillips, and Rafinha. Coincidentally, our three best players.
I monitor my shits twice a day. I don't mean I want them.
Yeah, they've had scouts. They've had scouts watching them. These guys are pretty good. Maybe we should buy them.
Fucking hell.
How much do these scouts get paid? I could do that.
It's easy, isn't it? Yeah, just you probably just sit watching FIFA and go, he's really good. We'll go buy him.
Look at these
well
FIFA
fast.
stats.
Speaking of lineups, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Don't know why. I don't know what gave it to me, but made me giggle.
I like it.
Ewan quickly becoming the Robbie Fowler of the podcast. Callum Sharp, Hope Bamford is back as well. Oh, well, I already said that one. Bremnes Ghost Vodka and Lucasade. There you go. McAllister Bishop. Evening, guys. Great to see a video like this showing off our diversity. That's
Brandy
right.
and Baby Sham. Brandy and Baby Sham.
These Whites have a black history. McAllister Bishop 2-1 to Leeds. Bremnes Ghost 5-0 Leeds. Rodrigo hat-trick. There you go.
Fucking hell,
Solid.
yes.
Solid.
That's a Barnes prediction if ever I've seen one.
Yeah. Has had enough beers yet?
Nora's incredibly happy that you've agreed with her, Sam.
Yes, I think it's 3-1. I don't know. I think of Southampton. I think 3-1. I don't know why.
Paul Homeboy 4-0 to Leeds. Bandy, well done, boys. Nora Law. So that was it. That was your podcast. Final thoughts. Do you have a message you want to say goodbye? Anything specific? Do you have any shout outs to say to people? Anything you want to mention?
Shout out the keeper. I'm going to score a hat-trick pass tonight. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I'm going to say have a good game. Have a good game,
Well,
Sam.
mate. Thank you. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I love it. I love playing late night as well under the lights of B-Dale.
Under the lights on a Wednesday night in B-Dale. Fucking hell, what more do you want? Tell you what.
Can you do it on a Wednesday night in B-Dale?
Right. We want our cold nights in B-Dale.
Yeah, it's pretty
Paul
big,
Gascoigne's got no on you, Sam. Tell you.
No, he hasn't, mate. He hasn't.
Can he do it? Can he do it on a cold, Wednesday night in B-Dale? Can he balls?
Can he, fuck?
Do the peacock. Do the peacock when you start your celebration. There you go. I didn't do that in a while, did I?
No, I like that.
Barney,
Get your cock out, Sam, with your scarf. Do the windmill. Do the windmill, Sam.
The windmill.
What's
Sam doing?
I probably shouldn't.
Look, Sam. I'm really sorry about to do this, but we can't invite you back for football anymore.
No reason, just we're full now.
Barney, you got any tips on fighting COVID?
Watching ITV4 and watching Minder and
Oh, yes.
there's some really good stuff on ITV4, real like proper 70s and 80s stuff, and you think actually life's not that bad now. So it looks quite depressing then. The Professionals is good as well. I recommend that.
Professionals, yeah.
Sweeney, Professionals.
Sweeney's fantastic.
What's Minder? Because Dennis, everything Dennis Waterman was in, right? He had to do the theme tune, didn't he?
Right,
Yeah.
the theme tune.
Is the theme? Yeah, right. The theme tune. Sing the theme tune. Yeah. But I always think, is that the one? I'll be so good for you.
Yeah, that's the one.
Good
I'll
for
be
you.
good for you.
It's amazing, right? Because I haven't watched that. I haven't watched that for 30 plus years, right? But I can still remember every word to that song.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
A good idea. Do you keep me near? I'll be so good.
Good
I
for
can be
you.
so good for you. I don't want it.
Bit of karaoke
Love
to
me
finish
like
it
you
off. What more
want me
could you want?
to. I'll do anything you do. I'll be so good for you. Boom.
Yeah, and then when it progressed from Dennis Waterman to the other guy in the 90s, they tried to make it a little bit more like Dallas style, the music. And it just failed. It just got silly. It's got silly.
People, wrong time, just the wrong location.
I'm going to listen to that on the way to football. It's
I'm telling you now, it's in me earworm now, definitely. I want to say lastly, can I just say lastly, I got an exercise bike this week, lads. It's fucking revolutionary. Revolutionary. Because I walk a lot. Do you know what? I'm losing loads of weight. I'm fucking strong. I'm a monster, but I go on the thing. It's quite. What I did was I set it up in the wrong place. So I get this exercise bike, and I thought, right, I'll put it in. The kids have got a games room, so I thought, fucking hell, Barney, you all right?
Yeah.
And, got bones in that one. So I sets this bloody exercise bike up in my kids' games room. There's loads of space in there. Used to be my music room till I had kids, so I feel like I'm owed a little corner of it. Anyway, sets it up next to there. So The first 2 days I got on it, I didn't realise the radiator was on. Fucking hell, it was like cycling through, Kabul. I was like dripping with sweat, thinking, what's going on? There's no windows open. I'm in the middle of the house, no wind, no breeze whatsoever. I absolutely lost about a stone just in those 3 days I've had it. So if you want to lose weight, kids, get on an exercise bike, do an hour a day, and
stick the heating on.
Yeah, it'll drop off.
And
you.
Speaking of getting on your bike, that's our time. That's all the time we've got left. Woody needs to go and score some goals. And
Yeboah style.
Thank you very much. If you want to follow us, we said all our Twitter tags numerous times on this podcast, so just go find us.
Nobody's followed us, so don't fuck you. Yeah. Good night, God bless.
Cheers, get one follower from this podcast.
Get in there. Yeah. Add to my 50. Make it 51. Come on.
Stay well,
boys.
Take care.
Don't get murdered.
I won't. Cheers, everyone, for listening.
Cheers,
Thank you. And Jeffrey